Hi, I'm Mary Ellen and welcome to Moody Blooms. Today we are going to be reviewing one of my favorite plants, Ficus Elastica. And guess what? I picked up this beauty for $10 at the Home Depot on their sale rack. And it's in a pot, no drainage hole, but still a pot. It's just in the nursery pot inside of the terracotta pot. But still, I thought it was such a steal. Look how pretty and healthy she is. Now, when I first got her, the leaves were quite dirty and had a ton of water spots. So I was able to clean her all up, get her looking nice and fresh. So today we are going to be covering all the different varieties that are in the Ficus genus, or the different varieties of rubber plants. So let's get started reviewing those. There are many rubber plant varieties to choose from in the Ficus genus. Most of the common varieties are Ficus elastica. However, a few belong to Ficus Altissima or Ficus ben-ga-len-sis. Ficus is a species in the family Moraceae or Moraceae. It's the Mulberry family, and they're native to eastern parts of South and Southeast Asia. Now, variegated rubber plants are definitely some of my favorite all-time houseplants, specifically because they are beautiful but also super low maintenance. Now, all of the rubber tree plant varieties contain an abundant milky white latex. However, despite its common name, it's actually not used in the commercial production of natural rubber. It's actually produced from the sap of Hevea braziliensis. Ficus elastica is the common species of the rubber plant and has been a tried and true classic houseplant. It's super easy to care for and beautiful. They can grow large and they have these beautiful leathery leaves. Stunning emerald green leaves have scarlet red sheaths, which the new leaves emerge from. Now, it was extensively grown indoors in the early 1950s, but has since been replaced by numerous beautiful cultivars that we're going to cover. Now, this sun lover grows best in a spot that receives plenty of direct sunlight. However, the rubber plant will still grow with no direct sun indoors as long as it's not too far from a window. Now, Indian rubber trees can grow to soaring heights up to 100 feet or 30 meters in their natural habitat. These are just beautiful plants. The next variety that we're going to cover is the Ficus Tineke, and it is one of the most popular variegated elastica. And they're commonly sold as a variegated rubber tree or Tineke rubber tree, and the leaves are thick and shiny and gray-green in color with a touch of cream. And the new leaves come in with the splashes of pink. This popular variety is actually easier to care for than the famous cousin, the fiddly fig. In fact, it's much more easygoing about light and water, and this makes it a perfect choice if you want something similar but not so finicky. It's definitely more forgiving. The Tineke can handle low light conditions, however, bright light is preferred. Remember, variegated rubber plants need sufficient light in order to keep their level of variegation. Lighting that's too dim will cause the plant to lose its variegation. What I like to do is rotate it in intervals to ensure that it gets even lighting. And I usually do this when I water it. Indoors, lower light conditions and containers will restrict the root development and slow its growth. So if you want to keep it smaller, you can do so by keeping it in a pot that's manageable. The Ficus Tineke can become oversensitive to too much water. However, it can also be sensitive if it's too dry for too long. So make sure when you do water them deeply, and then wait till like the top 2 inches of the soil dries out between watering. And of course, this will vary based on your weather conditions. You know, in summer, obviously you're going to need to water it more, and in winter, you can water probably about once every 2 weeks. Again, this can vary based on your climate. Now, the Ficus Tineke likes a chunky, well-draining soil mix, specifically a soil medium that can retain moisture, but drain excess water to avoid root rot. Make sure there's plenty of organic matter like cocoa coir or peat moss or orchid bark. I have mine in 2 parts potting soil to 1 part each perlite and orchid bark, which also contains charcoal. It's similar to an aroid mix, and then I toss in a handful of worm castings and cactus gritty mix, but that's probably not necessary. You just want to make sure that it's in a soil that allows the roots to breathe but also drains well. Avoid soils that contain moisture retaining crystals. Now, the Ficus elastica is native to the southeast regions of India, and their average temperature is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 26 degrees Celsius. Therefore, a range of about 86 degrees to 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius is ideal. Anything below 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius is bad for your Tineke. Also, be sure to be aware of any sudden weather changes, specifically changes in wind or sudden excess of rain. Now, this will thrive in humidity. However, the average humidity level in your home is probably enough for your Ficus Tineke. Of course, it doesn't mean you can't do more for your plant. You can always add a pebble tray, but of course, for the best humidity level, you should buy a humidifier and place it near your plant to encourage growth. Now, this classic plant has been around for decades, although recently it has surged in popularity thanks to probably the internet, but also because of these creamy white leaves and the variegation, and they're just large and thick leaves. And one more tip is to be sure to wear gloves while pruning, as their milky latex sap can also irritate your skin. Of course, nutrition is an essential for your rubber tree to grow. A general houseplant fertilizer will replenish its nutrients. Fertilize at half strength in spring through summer. Next, we have the beautiful Ficus Elastica Ruby, also known as a Ficus Ruby, Ficus Elastica Belize, variegated rubber tree, Ficus Belize, or Ficus Elastica Red Ruby. And it's native to the tropical regions of India and Malaysia. Now, this plant has been around for decades. However, it has also skyrocketed in popularity. It has these dazzling leathery leaves that have striking variegation in shades of cream and green and pink. And as the leaves of the Ficus Ruby mature, the redness kind of mellows out to a dark green and cream, and it'll have hints of pink. Now, care for this plant is similar to the Ficus Tineke, although its unique tricolored variegation requires brighter lighting conditions to keep the colors strong and defined. Ficus Ruby can grow more than 12 inches or 30 centimeters long with thick leaves with beautiful pink and red variegation. In frost-free areas, this tree can grow up to towering heights of 40 feet or 12 meters tall. But don't worry, if you're an indoor plant parent and you want it to be a smaller, more compact plant, when it's in the lower light conditions and in a container, it'll restrict the root development. So you can easily control the growth and keep it the perfect size for your room. It grows best in medium to bright light, within about 3 to 4 feet of a large, unobstructed east or west facing window is often ideal. It can be supplemented or grown entirely under artificial lights as well. Ficus Ruby is definitely one of my favorites, and of course it's because of the color. The leaves are just striking, and they sometimes have strokes of purple and red and white, and the stems and the ribs are a deep shade of a reddish pink. New leaves will be redder in color as well. Remember to look at the underside of the leaves because they are just as pretty as the tops. I get asked a lot how to tell the difference between the Ficus Ruby and the Tineke, and it's actually pretty easy to tell the difference based on the color of the leaves. The leaves of Tineke are variegated typically with green and cream or yellow, and the baby plants will grow new growth at the top of the plant, which may have pink tint, but this fades over time. The Ficus Elastica Ruby has leaves with variegated green, cream, and a very vibrant pink, coral, or red color. The babies in the new growth are a very dark red, and some are even completely solid without any variegation. Because of the slightest pink color of the new growth of Ficus Elastica Tineke, it can sometimes be mistaken for the Ficus Ruby. Another easy way to tell them apart is the center vein. On the Ruby, the center vein is pink or red, and on the Tineke, it features a cream vein. Another feature to look for is the sheath, and on the Ruby, they're a bold shade of pink, and on the Tineke, they feature greenish sheaths with a faint pink color. Sometimes people will say they are the same plant, but they are different. You can see in this picture side by side, they are definitely different plants. Next, we have Ficus Burgundy or Ficus Elastica Burgundy, and this plant is very exotic looking and another really common variety of ficus. Now, some say it's the same plant as Ficus Elastica Abidjan or Ficus Elastica Black Prince, and others say that these are all three completely different plants. But we're going to cover all of them today. So either way, these are beauties, and they have these rich burgundy leaves that eventually darken to a green that's so rich that it almost appears black. The sheaths are a stunning rich red, and even more, the undersides of the leaves are just as beautiful as the tops. Place it in bright light to enhance the dark, beautiful burgundy color. But this plant also does well in low light conditions too. It's actually easy to care for and will do fine if only watered when the soil becomes dry. In the 1900s, the milky sap from this plant was actually used to make rubber, helping it earn its common name. Now, of course, as we discussed earlier, it comes from a different plant now. Next, we have Ficus Shivereana or Ficus Shivereana Moonshine. And this is also sometimes called Ficus marble or Ficus Elastica marble. And the Moonshine is one of the rarest and most sought after ficus varieties. This is a distinct beauty because it has these creamy leaves, liberally streaked, splashed, and speckled in olive green. Each leaf is unique and one of a kind. This variety of rubber tree displays highly variegated leaves growing from a central stem. It's definitely easier to grow than the fiddle-leaf fig and more upscale than the burgundy rubber tree. Perfect for both new gardeners and experienced plant parents. It's really sought after, and this variety is a breeze to care for. In frost-free areas like its native Southeast Asia, the Ficus Shivereana grows up to 40 feet or 12 meters tall. As a houseplant in lower light conditions and in a container that restricts the root development, you can easily control its growth. It prefers medium to bright light within 3 to 4 feet of a unobstructed east or west facing window. Ficus robusta or Ficus elastica robusta, or sometimes called Ficus rubra, is a more compact form of rubber tree, and it has these waxy leaves that are a deep green. Ficus elastica robusta resembles the Decora cultivar that we'll cover later, but it's more of a compact version and it has a more free branching nature. Ficus Abidjan, which is again sometimes called the Ficus Burgundy, but there's some speculation that it may be the same or not be the same, so we're still going to cover it, but it does still have these very dark leaves with hints of the deep red, and the leaves are leathery and they're a lot thicker than other variegated rubber trees. Next is Ficus Decora, and this is a stunning rubber plant variety, and it was introduced around 1950, and in fact it gets its name Decora from its decorative foliage. It has these gorgeous new leaves that emerge in a stunning shade of bronze, and then as they mature, they darken to a rich shade of emerald green. Glossy, broad leaves are accented with pops of red from the sheaths. The center vein of the Decora's leaves is slightly white, and underneath the center vein is red. The Decora is different from other rubber trees as it grows very dark, thick leaves. The leaves can get a lot bigger than their counterparts. Next is Ficus Melany, and it's more of a compact growing variety of the rubber plant. The leaves are more narrow and smaller than other Ficus elastica varieties. It actually grows a lot denser as well. It has these pinkish sheaths that protect new leaves which have a touch of bronze to them. Ficus Melany is typically trained to grow like a tree, so they have multiple stems growing leaves as opposed to just one trunk. Next is Ficus Elastica Black Prince or Black Prince rubber plant, and it's dark green, almost black. And again, as we discussed earlier, it's commonly referred to as Ficus Elastica Burgundy. It has these stems and undersides of the leaves that have a burgundy tone. And in fact, the undersides of the leaves are just as beautiful as the tops. Next, we have Ficus Doescheri, sometimes called the golden Tineke. And it is similar to Tineke, but Tineke is a little bit more compact. The Doescheri has narrower leaves and a striking variegated pattern that has these greens and yellow and white, sometimes a grayish green. Now, if you love pattern leaves, then you should try to get your hands on one of these because they are just beautiful. This color is splotchy and splashes of all different shades of simple greens and yellows, but still just beautiful in all the right spots. Next, we have Ficus Elastica Tricolor, and this is a common name for basically any of the variegated plants, and this could also be under, the Ficus ruby or the Ficus Tineke. So next we have the Ficus Elastica Cloe, and it features glossy olive green leaves with beautiful contrasting pink sheaths on the emerging leaves. Next is Ficus Sophia, and Sophia is a new compact variety of Ficus Elastica. The leaves are glossy and displayed on a sturdy stem. It's quite similar to Ficus Robusta, however the leaves are smaller and rounder. The broader leaves are also a standout feature. Strawberry and cream ruby pink rubber plant is just another name for the Ficus Elastica ruby, and it has, those beautiful shiny leaves that look like a strawberry pink. It's a classic variegated rubber tree. Ficus Altissima is also called Ficus Yellow Gem, or lemon rubber tree, or yellow gem ficus. Many times it's referred to as an Elastica variety, and it's actually not. It's an Altissima. And these are beautiful. The standard Altissima is an even green color, but the yellow gem variety has a vibrant variegated leaf with bold rubbery leaves that are patterned in bright yellow, lime green, and dark green. Now this yellow gem is all about the foliage. This compact tree-like houseplant has these broad oval-shaped leaves with a leathery texture. It has a very pronounced midrib and veining in yellow, with the central part of the leaf sporting bright green. In contrast, the margins have variegated patches of light green. One way that you can tell that it's not a Ficus Elastica is by those veins that we talked about earlier. The Ficus Elastica has that one center midrib, but doesn't have the veining that the Altissima has. And in the Philippines, it's also called the Ficus Altissima Lemon Lime. Next, we have the Ficus Audrey, which is a variety of the benghalensis plant, and this is the national tree of India. It's been grown for centuries. It's commonly known as banyan, banyan fig, or Indian banyan. Audrey ficus is a horticultural cultivar developed by botanists. Therefore, it does not grow in the wild, but the plant parent does. Audrey ficus has a unique, woody, light trunk with vibrant green leaves and light green veins. It's the cousin of the fiddle-leaf fig. Still, Audrey is an easier plant to care for. Ficus Audrey grows well as a houseplant and prefers a spot where it will receive high levels of bright, indirect, or direct sunlight. In its natural habitat, its canopy can cover a lot of ground and provide great shade in its warm climate. Next is Ficus Elastica Sylvie, and this has highly patterned leaves with pinks, white, cream, and green. Thanks so much for joining us on Moody Blooms. I hope you learned something new. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Please give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us rank on YouTube and on Google. So go ahead and do so if you feel so inclined. We'd be so grateful. And we'll see you on the next video.